Burnham's at the bridge. Black alert.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another Star Trek Fleet Command video. My name is UltimatDJz from the Talking Trek podcast, and we are here today, by the way, happy Star Trek Day, to welcome in Patch 22. The USS Discovery is now live in Star Trek Fleet Command, and I want to tell you all about it. So let's dive right in. Before we get started, because I know I'm going to get excited and forget about this later, please, right below the video, click on the subscribe button, then click on the little bell to be notified whenever we do more content, and leave your comments below the video, okay? So let's dive right in. Happy Star Trek Day. It is September 8th, 2020, and corresponding with a huge release inside of Star Trek Fleet Command. Discovery content is here and is somewhat expected with the writing from Mud 2.0 last arc and the launch of Discovery Season 3 in just a few short weeks. But today we got patch D22, and with it comes some new content related to Discovery, specifically 5 new officers or 3 officers. We'll talk about that, and of course the USS Discovery itself. Utilizing some pre-existing hooks and adding 1 or 2 new mechanics, this arc brings about some much needed change of scenery. Will you still kill Reds? Yes you will. Will you still mine? Yes you can. But, as we will discuss soon, there is a loop here that allows for a self-sustaining new mechanic that I think could be interesting and a lot of fun. Let's start with the officers. Interesting choices, actually. 5 new officers, and not exactly sure why. Feels like a couple of these as a common officer, maybe part to the storyline, maybe a throwaway, not real sure, but still only 3 characters. Interesting. In all the library, we couldn't have found 2 other throwaway officers out of Discovery if you didn't really want to only release 3 officers. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but we shall dive right into it. Here you go. As you can see, we'll start with the common officer, Origin Stamets. Captain's Maneuver, increasing the health of all officers on the ship by 10. Notice this is not a 10%, it is just 10. Yay! His officer ability, No Time to Waste, increasing the warp speed of the ship by 45%. Not actually a terrible one there. Then we get to Origin Saru, another common officer. Vigilant is his captain's maneuver, increasing the defense of all officers on the ship by 10. I can only assume that these are stat points, and that is not a wonderful captain's maneuver, but when would you ever use a common officer as a captain, I suppose? Officer ability, Prey Instinct, Origin Saru, increasing the whole health of the ship by 5%. Again, okay, not fantastic. Then we move into the uncommon realm. Origins Burnham. Vulcan Hello is the captain's maneuver, increasing the attack of all officers on the ship by 15. A lot of creativity went into these captain's maneuvers, if you can't tell. Increasing the attack of all officers on the ship by 15 stat points. Risk Taker is the officer maneuver, increasing the weapon damage of the ship by 7%. Let's move up into the ones that might actually do some good for us here. We've got a rare officer, and that is Commander Saru. Precautions is his captain's maneuver. When fighting players in PvP, every time your ship is hit by a critical hit, Saru decreases the critical hit chance of your opponent's ship by 10%. An interesting captain's maneuver there. We'll have to explore how effective he's going to be. Officer ability, Avoid Danger. When fighting players, again, a PvP officer here. When fighting players, Saru decreases the opponent's weapons damage by 30%. Again, assuming that these officers are written like all other officers in the game, these are going to be based on base values, folks. Not a net yield, but base values. And let's move on up to our epic officer. Yes, Commander Michael Burnham is the lead. She's the purple. She's the epic officer. And here she is right here. Steadfast is the captain's maneuver, increasing the impulse speed of the ship by 25. This is actually a remarkable captain's ability. This is better than any other speed officer that we have gotten into the game here so far. You'll notice that the 25 is in green. That means it is able to be increased with synergy. Step out of the way, Claw. We had Pan. Now, Pan, your time on top of the hill was very, very short. Now we have Michael Burnham, increasing the impulse speed of the ship by 25 with boostable synergy. Officer ability, intuitive when fighting players, again, in PvP. For each weapon attack that hits the opponent, Burnham is going to remove 30% of the total attack of all of your officers from the opponent's shield health. Does that sound familiar, folks? This is almost like a Yuki type ability. This is a shield stripper. And again, that 30% is guaranteed. This is not a proc rate officer. This is a guaranteed stripping of the shield, and the 30% is in green, which means it will increase. That is a first look at the brand spanking new officers here in the game. Now let's change gears here a little bit and take a look at some information from LCARS now, and take a look at the actual officer cards themselves. Here's the common Saru card, and we can see an incredibly cheap officer to upgrade. Maxing this officer out is only going to require 140 total shards, and you'll notice there, this is big time, folks. No independent credits. This is using Federation tokens to promote this officer to max, even if you wanted to do that. But these are not independent credits. These are not active banana probes. These are Federation credits, and that actually carries through with all of these officers. Let's take a look at common Stamets. Same thing, 140 shards and 1,000 Federation credits to max him out. Again, I don't think either of these two officers ever going to be an officer that you want in the captain's chair, so we're going to kind of skip over the synergy right now. Kind of silly, but nonetheless, you know, we'll dive into it a little bit later if it proves to be something important. Uncommon Burnham, here we go. Now we're starting to get into an actual accumulation of shards. 200 total shards required to max this officer out, and again, not an officer that's probably going to find herself in the captain's chair, but the synergy values are there. A total of 2,000 Federation credits required to max this officer out if you decided to go that way. Again, maybe not the wisest use of your Federation credits, but let's talk about the rare card, because now we're starting to get into some interesting abilities. Again, we saw 10% decrease to the opponent's critical hit chance when receiving a critical hit, but that can go up to 30% with synergy. You'll notice if we take an engineering officer and a science officer there, then we can actually boost that up to a 30% reduction of critical hit chances every time you're hit with a critical hit. Now, we take a look at the required shards here. A lot of shards. 32 for the unlock, 48 for the next level, all the way progressing down until 496 total shards required to max out this rare officer. Now, yes, 496, that's actually a relatively low amount for a rare officer, but as we're going to discuss a little bit later in this video, the method for recruiting these officers, we may see a slightly new mechanic this time. You'll notice there are also several thousand Federation credits required, and even a couple of command badges eventually required to promote this officer if you decide you want to take it up to max. And finally, our epic card, Michael Burnham of the Federation Discovery crew. This is your epic card, and again, we talked about a plus 15 to impulse speed, and actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure that said 25 in our last screenshot, but now apparently we might have had some synergy there. We are seeing plus 15 as the base captain's maneuver. Again, still a phenomenal captain's maneuver, because you can get full synergy up to 35, and this is not a percentage, folks. That's adding 35 to the impulse speed. So if you have a ship and its impulse speed is 190, you can add 35 to that, and that is what Epic Burnham is going to do. So notice again, not a percentage, but just adding straight directly to the impulse value. Now this is an expensive officer, guys. Take a look there at the total number of shards. 110 required for an unlock, and a total of 1,650 total shards to max this officer out. Not only that, but using a boatload of Federation credits as well, and a total 7 science badges. This officer, you're going to have to think long and hard about whether or not she's going to be worth upgrading, and maybe time will tell as far as her stats coming up. But what's most interesting, again, is the ability to promote her and getting that shield stripper officer ability. I think that's going to be absolutely huge on this officer. So again, accumulating the shards, definitely worth. Take a look there. You can see at tier 5, at max tier, 450% of your total attack removed from the opponent's shield health points. That is a massive maneuver. You can see the difference in the percentages, and therefore early on, I think we can kind of determine this officer ability is going to get really good starting at about tier 4. Now that we've seen the new officers, let's take a look at the ship herself. Introducing to you the beautiful and sleek USS Discovery. Discovery. We've got some video to share with you here, so take a look at this. First of all, we'll take a look at the stats screen, but take a look at that animation. I'm kind of really digging that. You'll notice the ship's ability at the top. We're going to talk about that coming up here in just a minute. Let's start by going through some of these attack stats. You'll notice here a very low DPR at only 4,200. Of course, this thing is starting out at a very low. This is obviously tier 1. A little bit of armor piercing, shield piercing, and accuracy big time here. Again, because this is an Explorer. Critical chance to throw a shot is only 12%. Moving on to the next slide here. Critical damage starting out at a base of 160%. Shield deflection off the charts, better so than armor and dodge, again, being that it's an Explorer. Moving to the next slide, you'll take a look at the health stats here. Shield health and hull, very low numbers, but again, tier 1. Now, interestingly enough, here's where I wanted to start, is in the utility screen. Impulse speed, base, tier 1 is 90. Now, we noticed with the Stella that impulse speed actually increased as you tiered up the impulse engine. That is not the case on the USS Discovery. I want to draw your attention to this screenshot from LCARS, which not only gives us a warp range of this ship, but also indicating clearly that at tier 1 through tier 9, the impulse speed is only 90. Now, we'll come back to this slide in a little bit when we're talking about warp range, but again, seeing that the speed and the warp range is going to increase as we tier up, impulse staying exactly the same. Moving to the next slide, you'll notice that the cargo capacity here, 10,000 at tier 1, protected cargo, 20% of that, very interesting, and of course, no mining bonus whatsoever, base 100%, that's what we've got. That is the ship's utility bonus. We'll talk about this ship's mining capabilities a little bit later, and yes, I said mining. We'll talk about that coming up in just a couple of minutes. What I want to look at now, though, is the ship's ability. Take a look at this. We see right up here in the upper left-hand corner that the mycelium harvesting speed is increased by 1,860%. That is at tier 1. What does that mean? We're going to dive into how we obtain mycelium a little bit later in this video, so don't go anywhere. But you'll notice that all of the ship's ability is based right there in mycelium harvesting, an 1,860% boost. Where does that go? That goes all the way up to this screenshot right here at tier 9, level 45. You can see that it's going to cap out at 4,500%. So starting at 1,860 and ranging all the way up to 4,500% each time, changing as you level this ship. Very quickly here, I also want to transition to this screenshot of the Discovery cargo bay. We talked about this just a second ago. Starting out at tier 1, a base of 10,000 with a protected of 2,000. You'll notice going all the way up, that's a 20% protection. Going all the way up to tier 9, you'll notice that the cargo bay can get as large as 58,000 with a protected of 11,600. Ladies and gentlemen, hanging on to that 20% all the way through. Again, just kind of like the Stella was, this ship actually having a relatively large protected cargo. Now, I think it's also interesting to note that this is a G3 rare Explorer, okay? We take a look at the ship's ability and its ability to harvest mycelium, but this is an Explorer. What's interesting to note is that this is the first warship in the game that is actually designed to also be a miner. So no more just looking for the little symbols and clearing nodes of warships, guys. This is going to be trickier because the Discovery is a warship and is a designated surveyor of mycelium. Let's take a look at a few other stats here. What is it going to cost you to own and run this ship? Well, thankfully, we don't have to scrap this one. This one is going to be a cost of progression or a total cost of ownership, and as we invest these materials, they will stay in the ship, so we're not losing anything here. We'll take a look here. 48,000 spore drive components. Well, what are those? We're going to talk about those coming up here in just a minute. Oh, check that out. How interesting is this? An Ops 21 shipyard required to build. Folks, this is not a whale event. This is not a whale ship. You can build it as low as Ops 21. Can it be scrapped? Absolutely not. So again, taking away from that Stella scrap and repeat cycle. We see our basic titanium and dilithium there. Here's an interesting one. To max out this ship, 2,460 uncommon gas. That's to get it all the way to tier 9, 395 rare gas, 1,150 uncommon ore, and 285 rare ore. Not wildly expensive in the grand scheme of things, but as a specialty ship goes, that is a small chunk of uncommon. So as you are progressing through this arc, you might want to take a very close look at the battle battle pass, as it will help you obtain some of that gas and that ore to upgrade this ship and save what you've got right now so that you can be upgrading this ship. Now, I know you guys have been waiting for it, so let's do this right now. Let's actually take a look at this ship flying out of dock, and it is a beauty. I mean, the Discovery has been designed this way, being very, very unique, but I think it's absolutely beautiful. Let's take a look at it together. There it is, coming out of dock, lighting up. Let's look at the design. So flat. And there she is. I love everything about how this ship looks. I love the graphics. I love the animation that's been built into the game. I love the design of this ship. Just the way it was originally designed was phenomenal. The NCC 1031 USS Discovery. So awesome. And I'm really excited to have it in the game. So let's talk about how you use her. What is the new mechanic? Or is it new? Maybe, kind of. Let's dive in. The Discovery is going to be different from other ships in the galaxy because it is now utilizing one of the new mechanics built into the game, a special resource called cultivated mycelium. That is the fuel for this ship, its warp drive and its spore drive. Yes, you guys are hearing me correctly. We have a spore drive, meaning that this ship can jump in the universe. Now, what are the parameters of that? Well, we saw the screenshot earlier, and I can throw it back up on the slide, of the warp range of the USS Discovery. This ship, when you have enough fuel, enough mycelium, you will be able to jump to any system that is within warp range. So if you're trying to warp somewhere in dark space, not going to work. It has to be within the ship's warp range for you to jump there. But how do you jump? Well, you have to have mycelium. And where do we get it? Mycelium spores can be mined in up to 15 different systems or dropped by hostiles in these systems, which can then be refined from a brand new refinery. If you click in your refinery tab, where it did say coming soon, now says Discovery. You're going to use this raw mycelium, or these mycelium spores, to refine and create cultivated mycelium. This is your fuel for the spore drive and allows the Discovery to unlock instant warp. Now, you'll notice there's another tab in your Discovery refinery. Let's take a quick peek in there. During this arc, you're going to participate in a new type of event called anomaly events. During these events, Discovery, ideally, or any other ship, but Discovery would be obviously the best because of its ship ability of harvesting the mycelium at an 1,860% bonus at level 1. These anomalies are going to pop up in random systems announced in the game. What you're going to want to do is jump there as quickly as possible, kill the hostiles that will be pouring into those systems, because they will only be there for a very limited time. A few minutes at most. When one pops up, we're only going to see it for a few minutes, and you can take time warping there in your normal ship, or we can immediately jump with the Discovery, harvest as much mycelium as we can, and get the heck out of there. Now, what do you do in between times? Also in these systems, you can actually mine the mycelium, as we were talking about earlier. All of this raw mycelium can come back and be refined into cultivated mycelium in your refinery. It is absolutely vital that you take part in these events, these anomaly events, because they're also going to be awarding other types of currency, including Discovery refinery tokens. These tokens can be used in the second part of your Discovery refinery and unlock all kinds of stuff, including minor commendations. These are shards that can be redeemed from any of the faction stores towards officer badges. You can also earn speed ups and Discovery recruit tokens. We were talking earlier about the ability to recruit some of these officers, and it appears that we're going to have a specialty recruit token specifically for the Discovery officers. And then, of course, you see here the spore drive component. These are going to be used to upgrade the warp drive components of the USS Discovery. This is also going to decrease the cost of mycelium needed when instantly jumping to anywhere within the warp range of the Discovery. So let's recap. Is this a new mechanic? It absolutely is. However, does it still incorporate the grinding of hostiles and even possibly mining with this ship? Yes, it does. And that's okay, as long as we are bringing new content into the game in a new and engaging way. Guys, here is a warship that can be a miner, which on the surface is silly, right? But it's multi-purpose, meaning I can have one ship in the system and not only mine, but also hit the hostiles as they become available and take that mycelium back to my base to refine in this closed loop mechanic. And of course, we celebrate the return again of the Battle Pass. Guys, I'm excited about this arc. The Discovery is here. This is our first non-Kelvin property to be introduced in the past, present, and future of Star Trek Fleet Command. I'm really excited about it. I want to know what you think. Please leave your comments in the section underneath the video. And again, of course, please subscribe and like this video. Tell us what you want to see about Discovery coming up. We've got a lot more content that we're going to make for you. My name is UltimatDJz. I'm from Talking Trek, podcast recorded every Wednesday and every Sunday right here in Star Trek Fleet Command. I love you, man. I see you later.